Welcome to my writing realm. My name is Tanya, and I'm a Canadian author and creator of Sable Book Night, an independent publishing company. If you'd like to learn more about me and Sable's publications, visit sablebooknight.ca, and Book Night shares the K. Self-publishing is not just a backup plan, it's a way to take control of your career. A quote by Joanna Penn. Episode 54, My Writing and Publishing Journey So Far. Today is November 25th, 2025, and we have well passed the halfway mark for Novel November. As of this moment, I have written almost 40,000 words, which leaves 10,000 more left to write. It has been more than a year since I went on long-term disability from my job, and it has taken all of that time for me to recover just enough that I can start writing again. That is one thing that makes this November so special to me. Also, instead of starting new projects, which is how I normally handled writing in November, I dug up my old to-do list, and I've been focusing on finishing projects that have been hanging over my head. For some reason, I feel better this writing November than any previous November. It could be because I'm not working at my day job and so I have more flexibility with my time. Or it could be that I am more confident in what I'm working on. Either way, when I'm finished this month, I should have 4 short stories and 1 novella, all ready for revising and editing. In addition to that, I'll also have Sable Book Night's anthology to continue preparing for my publication. Although my health hasn't been the greatest, my writing gives me something positive to focus on, which really benefits my mental health. Some days it's hard because I'm not well enough to drive far or go shopping for long by myself, so I rely on my husband a lot and other family members to get me where I need to go. In a sense, I have lost my independence. Every day I'm at home, and I'm lucky that my kids and my husband all come home for lunch during the week to visit with me, to make sure I'm okay, and to eat, of course. If it weren't for them, I'd probably lose my mind. But writing is that one thing that I have for myself that allows me to escape to other worlds, and publishing gives me a sense of accomplishment. Here's a little background on my writing journey and why I decided to start a publishing company. In school, I was not one of those people who spent time in libraries or at home reading books. Writing was not something I dreamed of doing as a career or even for pleasure. It never dawned on me as an option, but I did write music. Music was a way for me to escape and express my emotions. My plan had been to attend university to become a composer. However, that did not work out as planned. I moved out of my father's home when I was 18 years old and crashed on my sister's couch for a while in her apartment until I met my future husband. After 6 months together, we took over my sister's apartment and we've been living together ever since. When the first Lord of the Rings movie came out, he took me to see it in theater. Most people my age would have read The Hobbit in school, but because I had changed school systems from province to province, it wasn't something that crossed my path. So I had honestly never even heard of Tolkien prior to seeing that movie. But after I watched it, I was completely hooked. That magical fantasy world came to life inside of me, and I started dreaming up my own world. That is when I started writing down my dreams, with some extra encouragement from my spouse. When my mother-in-law heard I was enjoying writing stories, she directed me to a writing workshop at our local library. After attending, I found this amazing group of people who I had so much in common with. They became the extended family members that I didn't know I was missing. I joined their writing group that met monthly and began my journey of working on my craft. So being a member of this group meant I was also a member of the Lake Winnipeg Writers Group, which was a nonprofit organization that published a journal twice a year. After a while, I published with them regularly and even won second place in one of their writing contests. When 2020 hit, I started my self-publishing journey. I learned how to do everything myself, from formatting to cover design, and using multiple publishing platforms like KDP, Smashwords, and Draft2 Digital. Over the first few years, I developed a love for the process, especially book formatting, and waiting for my first sales. This led me to selling my beta reading and editing skills on Fiverr, where I currently have a 5-star rating across the board under the name Honest Tanya. One issue that I came across in the world of self-publishing books was the fact that if I wanted to write under a pen name, people could still see my legal name as the publisher and therefore as the publishing imprint. This is because I'm in Canada. I wanted to find a way to publish under multiple author names while not being forced to reveal my legal identity and only having one website to manage and pay for. So I did my research and put a lot of thought and effort and time into developing Sable Book Night. This company would be the independent publisher for all of my author names, and it would offer author services like beta reading, line editing, and potentially book formatting. It also gave me a backup plan in case I reached a point where I was no longer capable of working because of my medical conditions. Then, not long ago, the Lake Winnipeg Writers Group dissolved. There was no longer any interest from members in taking a position on the board, and so with no one left to run things, it was impossible for them to function any longer. This left so many local writers without a place to easily publish their stories. This takes me to 2025. In order to offer a method for these local writers to have their stories published and read, I decided to organize anthologies under the Sable Book Night publishing name. So the LWWG was a nonprofit organization, which meant they did not pay authors for their stories, but they did offer each writer a copy of the publishing anthology that had included their stories. So what I want to do differently is get to a point where I can afford to pay writers for their stories because they deserve something for their time and creative efforts. So, for this first Sable anthology, I am offering each author a physical copy of the publication, an invitation to read part of their story during the book launch, and an interview through this podcast or my YouTube channel. Profits will reimburse me for the cost of the cover design and the print costs, and maybe a little bit for my time in accomplishing all of the required editing, beta reading, and book formatting. The rest will go into an account to go towards paying authors for future anthology publications. This does seem like a lot of time, effort, and work, but to me it is totally worth it. Submissions to the anthologies is open to all writers, not just the writers living nearby, and I'm hoping that one day people from all over the world will be excited to publish with Sable Book Night. It will help writers achieve publishing credits, reach new readers, and make them feel good about themselves for being paid for their stories. If you have any questions for me or have any requests for future podcast topics, please comment on this recording or video or shoot me an email at taniaswritingrealm@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever, and keep on writing.